ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. After Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam had done whatever work he felt he could do in his original area where he grew up, he felt that he should now leave. So he announced, "Inni muhajirun ila Rabbi." I am going to migrate towards my Lord. In other words, I am going to spend the rest of my life obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and carrying out the work that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created me for. So he left his hometown and went into the area. At that time it was called Caledonia, and then traveled westward along the Euphrates, continued into Syria, Harran, from there into Palestine, past Nablus, and at one point he continued traveling all the way into Egypt. Now at that time also, Egypt was ruled by the pharaohs, and the pharaoh at that time had a law, had a rule that anyone who was traveling with their wife, he would kidnap the wife. So when Ibrahim alayhi salam was passing by and he was asked and questioned, and he had his wife Sarah alayha ridwan with him, so he said, "This is my sister," meaning in faith. She believes as I do. But they captured her anyways. And every time the king tried to get close to her, she would make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And some narrations mention that the king would freeze or he would start sinking into the ground. So he would then start becoming desperate and yelling and screaming and begging her, "Please get me out of this, I'll let you go." So then she would make dua and he would be released. But his intention wasn't clear, or his intention wasn't correct. So again he would make another attempt to get close to her, and again Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would stop him and he would start sinking into the ground. And this happened 3 times, and each time he was released only because she made dua that, "Oh Allah, let him go." When he saw that this is something very serious, this is something that he has no control over, and the Egyptians at that time were also very superstitious and they were really afraid of jinns, so they thought this might be a jinn that's doing all of this. So he said, "We better let this lady go." And as he let her go, he gave her a whole bunch of gifts, and he gave Ibrahim alayhi salam a whole bunch of gifts. And in fact, because that king could trace his origin back to the same families that Ibrahim alayhi salam was originally from, he understood that Ibrahim alayhi salam is a very noble man, and so he married his own daughter also to Ibrahim alayhi salam. So now Ibrahim alayhi salam leaves, and originally when he started his journey, he had just his wife and his nephew with him. His nephew meaning his brother's son, whose name was Lut alayhi salam. Lut alayhi salam was the nephew of Ibrahim alayhi salam. And so both uncle and nephew, when they went back towards Palestine, they decided to settle in different areas, because at that time there wasn't too much greenery and grass, and animals needed all of that. If they had collected in one place, their intention of course was to raise animals, sheep and goats and so on and so forth. So they did not want either of them to have difficulties in regards to their animals. So Ibrahim alayhi salam settled a little further down, Lut alayhi salam settled a little bit closer, and in this way they started their lives as residents of a completely new part of the world for them. But there also Ibrahim alayhi salam continued his message. Now one of the interesting things about the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam are the amount of du'as that are mentioned in the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam. So we talked about some of the du'as already, Another one of the prayers that Ibrahim a.s. made was رَبَّنَا لَا تَجْعَلْنَا فِتْنَةً لِلْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. Oh Allah, don't make us a source of test, a trial for the disbelievers. لا تجعلنا فتنة للذين كفروا. Don't make us a test. What does it mean, don't make us a test for the disbelievers? It means a couple of things. One is that, oh Allah, don't put in their hearts animosity for us so that they start torturing us and inflicting pain on us. And because of that, we become the target of their aggression. And we become a test for them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests them through us. We become the test for them, and then we also get tested in the process by having to go through all kinds of hardships. And those tests are of two different kinds. One is the test where those people are put in charge over you, and they're constantly pushing you away from your faith. And they keep applying pressure and trying to convince you. And the other test is that they start inflicting all kinds of hardships. So one of the things Ibrahim a.s. asked Allah's protection from was that, oh Allah, I don't want to be the one that becomes a target of the abuse and the aggression, the oppression, the dhulm of other people, so that you test them through us, and then you test us with all of these hardships because of those people. The other meaning of this dua is that, oh Allah, make us such people that we can become a good example for disbelievers. So when they see us, they see in us the kind of person that they would also aspire to be, the kind of person that they would also wish and desire to be. Don't make us from those people that become a cause of misleading and misguiding others. Because if someone sees us doing the wrong thing and they start following it, they take that to be their model, their example, then on the Day of Judgment, they will stand up and speak against us in the court of Allah, and they will say, oh Allah, it was those people who led us astray. رَبَّنَا إِنَّنَا أَطَعْنَا سَادَتَنَا وَكُبَرَاءَنَا فَأَضَلُّونَ السَّبِيلَ. Oh Allah, we just followed our elders. We followed our leaders. They're the ones who misled us. So the dua is a very powerful and comprehensive dua, just like all the other duas of Ibrahim a.s. And inshallah, we'll continue that narrative of Ibrahim a.s.